Sup Team KBA, Untitled Traveler here. This is Last Shelter. Happy weekend. Hope you had a great week. And today I want to talk about some of the big recent updates that Last Shelter developers has sent out through the emails that are kind of changing things in many ways. We're going to cover 3 topics today. The first one is going to be the new season announcements across the different state ranges. The second one is adjustments to Eden season rewards, and that making quite a big difference to what we can overall receive, whether you're on the winning end or lower down the ranks. So that's a positive move. And then the final one are the tech specializations for cutting edge research. So join me. It's going to be a very good one. And if you want to see more Last Shelter as well as my tech and travel, make sure you check out my website at onetechtraveler.com. You'll find more of my hero profiles that I'm currently developing. It takes a little bit of time and ones that I've got better hands-on experience with the heroes, but as I do, I'm publishing it, so definitely check it out and subscribe to join the Team KBA community if you haven't yet. So yeah, big one. Last Shelter new season announcements have finally been sent in the emails. We've generally been in the dark for a while, and this is probably coming up to the 4th week in off-season, post-season 5 for me in the State 800s range. We're gonna have a quick look at the emails that they've sent out. Now, they've kind of changed the email they sent, because I remember I had a quick sneak at the email and it actually listed the full state range and what format they are going to be playing. They've since then adjusted that email to make it focus on just for whatever state range you're in. So I can't show you the full, list, but I do have a recollection. So for those in the 800s range from 801 up, and then I believe it's from up to 900 or 1000, we are in Eden conflict, let's say 800 to 900. So very positive and welcome season for S6. Some of us kind of umming and ahhing after having a flavor of Eden Dissidia, for me being a very refreshing and also enjoyable different pacing to Doomsday, hoping that we would still have Eden, and of course a lot of talk about migration, different state ranges, including myself. So if it was Eden, it definitely makes this season a lot more easier because you don't necessarily have to migrate to different states. And if it was Doomsday, we would be absolutely screwed. So Eden conflict, really excited about that. And registration starts on the Monday. So off-season is officially finishing up, which means we are going to get down to the new season with gameplay. And I'm also going to be doing my guides for Eden Dissidia now that I've had a completed season, to give you the best sort of understanding, tips and observations I've seen from other people playing Eden Dissidia on my map. So yeah, that should be positive for those who are going to go through Eden Dissidia either as an S5 or older states, any changes in the format, etc. Conflict is going to be a slightly different to Eden Dissidia. There's new strongholds, different reward setup, but the biggest fundamental change to Eden map are that it's now a north versus south faction, which means you have multiple guilds that will be assigning to either a north or a south, and then from that you're kind of vying for control across the Eden map. So you kind of got that umbrella tier, north to south. And then within North and South, we still have our guilds that we can play in. And then within those guilds that we can play in is the occupation value that we are capturing around the Eden map that sort of adds up to the overall tally. So I'll definitely do a deeper video into Eden conflict, and of course, as I'm playing with it, and also with the season reward structure. But you can see here, registration, if you do want to register, then as an alliance, you don't need to do anything individually, just wait for your R5 commander. But if you want to play on a different map, maybe you want to chance playing on a different map from, friends who are in a different state, different server, then you can individually register and then you won't be in the same Eden map as your alliance. So just bear that to mind. Now for states 1 to 800, I believe it's Eden Dissidia for you all. So sound off in the comments what your thoughts are. I think you had conflict before that, so it's good to see, your thoughts on how conflict was for you and whether you were looking forward to Dissidia or not so much. And then from probably state 900s onwards, I think, or 1000, correct me down below if you want a newer state, you're going to have Doomsday Total War. So I heard from one of my KBA members who were playing in a newer state that they actually had Eden for season 4, which is really interesting. I think that's actually a positive move, because 4 seasons of Doomsday, and especially if you're on the not strong side, then you kind of get your ass whooped most of the battles. Having Eden as a refresher is better, and the earlier you get familiar with it, the better it is for the future seasons. And then it kind of just changes up the pace a little bit. So states 100 to 800, Eden Dissidia. State 801 up to, I think, 900. Let's just play it safe there. Eden Conflict. And then from 900 or 1000, I think is, Doomsday Total War. That's just from the email that they sent out previously. But this specific to me, registration, and then the full season begins the week after that. So really looking forward to that. So that is the new season announcements, and for us that is season X, that is season 6. The next one we're going to talk about are the new season reward adjustments for Eden. So this is actually also a very big one. It's super wordy in here, so you can refer to your email. You do also get your specialty reset, so of course make sure you get that for the upcoming season. But I'm gonna break it down. So there are 3 parts to it. 1 is an adjustment to the occupation value for the guilds. 2 are an addition of super tickets to the rewards. And then 3 is an increase in Doomsday Coins. That's basically what this is about. So the biggest one is, of course, the guild occupation value. So that kind of determines where your guild finishes in a season. The more strongholds, cities, gates, world center that you hold, those all contribute to your overall guild occupation value in a map. And once you hit a certain threshold, you get the maximum season reward. So for Eden Dissidia, for example, occupation value was 2000, and that allowed you to get the best season rewards. So they've actually cranked that down a little bit. So instead of 2000, it's gone down to 1,600, and that's had a cascaded effect across the occupation value for the rewards as you go down the tiers. So after that, instead of 1,500, it goes down to 1,200. Instead of 1,000, it goes down to 800, and so forth. Those would be the different level rewards from where your guilds finish. That's a big thing in many ways, because I find it to be a more game balancing adjustment, and also a little bit more fairness in how the dynamics of a map plays out. Whether you're from your map, but my map experience is that we had the top 3 get the maximum points available, which was 2,000. That meant that they had over 6,000 or a little bit more, and that meant, I think, there's not many, maybe 1,200 left for the remaining guilds to try and get decent rewards. So that meant the remaining 3 that I was a part of, we ended up sharing 300 each, which meant any other guild outside of those 6 pretty much didn't get anything. So reducing the amount required for the seasonal rewards means that should open up more points available to allow more guilds to get some kind of reward. It can either play out that way, or you might find one guild that just becomes greedy and wants everything, but there's really no incentive to have more than the minimum amount to hit the seasonal rewards. So you can have, instead of the 3, maybe 4 get the max rewards, and then just a bit more fairness for the other guilds to get some kind of decent rewards. So for me, it's more of a game balance and a bit more fairness across wider guilds. We'll see how that translates in real life, but that, for me, I think is a very positive move, and nice for those who, wanting to enjoy the game without necessarily being able to be too competitive with the kind of power levels out there, at least able to get something over the 50 days that you spend from Eden. The next part is super tickets. So this is the split in the rewards that the Guildmaster rolls out, and then you have your core rewards, the main rewards, and then the power rewards up to 200 members if you're hitting a level 50 guild. They've added those super tickets in there, so a Guildmaster would get 50 core rewards, you would get 30 super tickets in addition to the usual season rewards. Normal members would get 20, and then power members, the remaining 90 of the 200, can get 10 super tickets. So again, very positive moves. There's nothing that they've kind of stripped away or made it difficult in other areas. It's just a straight up addition to season rewards to add more value. Again, it's also a very positive move. There's kind of not too much leeway they can make with, you know, increasing the amount of SX tickets, because yeah, those are kind of the creme de la creme of what you're working for, and they've, you know, added those base skins and you know, title buffs. So super tickets are a nice addition to help those, especially who are organic or free to play. Just gives them a little bit more to play in those hero drops to try and get, you know, the ones that they are working for if they don't have VIP or buying paid packs. You know, it's solely dependent on winning, you know, their cause and being in a winning state. So that is a very positive move. And then finally is the increase to Doomsday Coins, arguably one of the best kind of currencies to give you access to SX heroes and maxing out those pre-SX heroes as well. But also free to play for, you know, super energy cores for Baneblade parts, getting some small bits for specialty resets, honor points, etc. But pretty much hero tickets and super energy cores, and also I expect war badges if you are in that sort of post-season where cutting edge and T10 troops are open. So yeah, that adjustment only affects the winning reward, so not the personal development and not the guild development. Is where you finish up, and I can show you here. So you can see Doomsday's in 9 days. So we have Eden Conflict, and if we go to the season rewards, I'll kind of cover the conflict reward setup later on. Here you get 200,000 defeat, you get half the amount. But if we look into the development section, you still get 50,000 Doomsday Coins. I don't know if they've actually adjusted it already, since I kind of don't see the super tickets. We see, yeah, they haven't adjusted the actual rewards yet, so I'll do a follow-up video, or maybe wait to do the rewards breakdown for Eden Conflict. So it's not, I'm not sure whether that 50,000 increase is going to apply both to the personal development, the guild development that we see here, because 50,000 is what we got last season. But I definitely imagine it will increase the winning rewards at least. So yeah, that's a very nice amount for those who kind of were getting the minimum, maxing out the personal, the guild development, and then just kind of getting okay rewards for the season. You would generally only get about 150,000. So if it's an increase of 50 just total, then that goes up to 200,000, gives you a little bit more so you can do more stuff in the shop. But if they ramp that up across the 3, then yeah, that would be a very big bonus. So that is Eden season reward adjustments. I know it's a bit deep, but again, very useful and very meaningful updates that aren't really seen as you know, skewing to those who are investing money into the game or, you know, buying packs. It's just solely an additional reward boost to give you more value and return for the amount of time, commitment, and effort that you are putting across your Eden seasons. Doesn't apply to Doomsday, it looks like, but for Eden it makes it even more meaningful, which is great. And then the final part is, of course, tech specializations for cutting edge tech research. So that will open up post season 5. So if you're not if you haven't completed season 5 yet, then you won't see this. But if you are in post season 5, then cutting edge tech opens up. Kind of looks like this, gives you additional attributes for all troops, but it's also a way for you to unlock T10 troops. I'm level 13. The key thing that we see here is the bottom part. So every upgrade you make within cutting edge research gives you, you know, progression within the levels down below. And once you complete that level, then you get 1 tech specialization point. And that point can be assigned like in Doomsday Conquest, the honor specialties, where you have the nodes where you can increase virus immunity, get the pioneer flags, or increase destructor power, processing speed. It's going to kind of look like that. And initially it looked like a cross, so north, south, east, west, and you'd have to choose which branch or which nodes you wanted to progress. And once you completed that, you start from the center and then you go outwards. They've actually done something different that again adds a lot of good value, another avenue to increase your T10 stuff, and that is adding new attributes. So you'll see it here, but in essence, there are additional attributes that, one, lowers the resource consumption to produce T10 troops, which can be pretty resource heavy. Increase the speed, so being able to train T10 troops quicker, which takes a crazy long time. I believe it's 9 or 10 days per batch of like maybe 7,300. It slightly changes depending if you have development heroes for combat. Lower the resource consumption treating T10 soldiers, so that would be hospitals if they are killed off, reducing the amount of resources that they require, and possibly also reducing how much it takes within the hospitals for Eden season, maybe Doomsday, and then also increasing the limit of how many T10s you can hold in its entirety. There is a limit compared to other troops of how many you can do. So that was the email. What that actually looks like, I'll show you now, is it changes the nodes grid from that sort of cross to kind of like a stacked pyramid like here. So you kind of have your widest base, which are the furthest nodes that you need to progress through, which means you need to do plenty of upgrades. And then as you get to the center, the squares sort of like get smaller and smaller as it's much easier to max out those nodes towards the center that you start. So this is a very big deal because it changes the way how you can sort of spec your tech attributes going from one branch to the other. You can see they're actually all connected now. So instead of having to start from the center, I can go from the node that I want to branch off from and then make my way either north or south, kind of making that square. The reason why it's a square is because those new attributes that we talked about, they occupy the corners of that whole pyramid thing. So if we start from the largest node corner, laid out, this increases that T10 damage we talked about. It is plus 5%, which means if you're doing all of the corners, that gives you plus 20% boost. The next one up is increasing the T10 limit, 250,000, times it by 4, you can increase it by a total of 1 million. Reducing the training costs, so the resources, minus 10%, max that out, minus 40%. And then finally, the closest sort of square towards the center is increasing the training speed, plus 10%, all 4 corners, plus 40%. So that's very meaningful. These are all specific to T10s, which just really enhances the attributes of, not only the combat, which is kind of that damage plus 20%, but actually being able to produce them. That's kind of the attributes that they all are, which makes T10 production a bit more easier and less resource heavy than what they are now. They've made one adjustment that I've seen within this, which is these kind of nodes in between these main parts, like you see here. So we have HP, reducing war badges, increasing attributes. Besides sort of the center points or milestones, you have the nodes above and below. Now those were reducing the research time for cutting edge tech. One was a fixed amount of hours and one was a percentage. They've actually flipped it. So if you saw this tech specialization grid before, the percentage reduction was actually on top, and then the absolute fixed number was down below. Reason why they flipped it is because it kind of balances out from the other branches that it connects to. The left being the research percentage reduction, and then the right being the fixed amounts, or in this case, the amount of cash consumption. Again, very meaningful, not really making too much of a difference. It kind of just gives additional attributes for those who are, very far in their tech specialization to, continue speccing and getting additional buffs. And then also for those, even if you don't have much tech specialization levels, or you're more organic or F2P, so your progression is much slower, if you eventually reach the furthest node, then it kind of makes those new attributes a bit more accessible. For example, if I am furthest left, I can access the damage dealt buff straight away, rather than having to progress through the lower ranks to get access to it. So yeah, I think it's a meaningful update. I think it further increases, the amount of progression you could do within Cutting Edge. It does also mean that the gap can be wider, because these are very meaningful buffs, but it's not necessarily like big game changes in terms of combat. It just makes production of T10s much more affordable in the consumption. So yeah, very big changes. They came in rapid succession in the last couple of hours and the last day, but those are the 3 changes that we are seeing. Again, if there's better understandings or things that I've got wrong, feel free to correct me down below. That's kind of from how I understand these emails, and like say, once they start ramping up or showing those changes, then yeah, we can talk about it. So I'm gonna do another video following up from this, which is the new Eden Conflict season rewards, and I'll wait to see if they do make that adjustment to the Doomsday Coins. It is a little bit different from Eden Dissidia, and so yeah, I kind of want to help players to understand what the rewards are based on, the criterias, and how you are receiving them, and then also some changes to the SX hero pools that you can pull your tickets from, because we have Lust and Retrograder in this season. So stay tuned for the next video, but that kind of wraps up this new update. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, whether you are happy that these new updates have arrived, whether you are looking forward to your new season, or whether there are some things that you're not sure about. Yeah, be good to hear your thoughts. So that wraps it up. This is Last Shelter. I'll see you in the next one.
That wraps up the video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't yet, join the Team KBA community by subscribing to my YouTube channel, and check out OneTechTraveler.com for more stories, articles, and videos around tech, travel, and gaming. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, keep being awesome. Peace.